The Trojans take home the title
and get some exercise in the library. Stay tuned. TrojanVision News starts now.
From the high-definition production center of Troy University's Broadcast and Digital Network, Troy, Alabama's International University. This is TrojanVision News.
Hello and welcome to TrojanVision News for March 14th, 2016. I'm Deborah Bogart.
And I'm Jordan Elston. Thank you for joining us this evening. For the second time in school history, the Trojan women's basketball team is going to the NCAA tournament. Troy defeated Arkansas Little Rock on Saturday in the championship game of the Sun Belt Conference tournament to punch their ticket to the big dance. By winning the championship, Troy gets the Sun Belt's automatic bid to the tournament. Trojan senior Ashley Beverly Kelly, winner of the tournament's Most Outstanding Player award, hit the winning shot that secured the championship and says the win was a culmination of their hard work as a team.
Every girl that's on the team, we all have a story, and I feel like during that celebration, we felt all the stories that we've shared with each other, and we just love each other, and we believed in each other to pull out the game.
The Trojans will find out who they play in the tournament tonight during the NCAA Tournament Selection Show on ESPN that is scheduled to begin at 6 p.m. The Trojans will host a viewing party in Trojan Arena that will kick off at 5:30, and the public is invited to attend. Ryan Renfro will have more on Saturday's big win later in sports.
Last week was Troy University's spring break, and while many students spent at least part of the week lounging on a beach, 30 Troy students spent their week walking to it. Sarah Singletary explains.
On Wednesday, March 9th, 30 brothers from Troy University's Alpha Tau Omega fraternity walked into Panama City's Pier Park after a grueling 6-day, 128-mile walk that started in Troy.
Walk Hard 2016, the experience, all in all, was probably one of the most rewarding things I've done in a group. But really, the day in and day out was pretty boring. Like like there's not a lot of glory when you're walking through Enterprise, Alabama. No one really knows what you're doing, but like knowing what we were going through at the end, like in Panama City, made it really all worth it. That's what was so rewarding about it.
I don't even know how to begin to describe it. It was fun, but it was pretty terrible sometimes with just the pain in your feet and your legs. It's pretty exhausting. The first day was 28 miles, and that was, I think, 10 and a half hours of walking.
At the end of the trip, hundreds turned out to cheer on the brothers as they completed their fundraising walk. The walkers were surprised by the level of support.
I can't even begin to really put into words what I felt like. Just seeing just a mass of people on that pier just coming to celebrate us. That was I hadn't really ever felt that before. Like the adrenaline that just got pumping. I could have walked 128 more miles. I felt like I could anyway. I probably really couldn't have.
You can't beat the feeling of walking into Pier Park and seeing. We were really surprised at the number of people that were there, and then giving the big check to Jeep Sullivan. It was all worth it for sure.
And the big check was even bigger than the brothers originally anticipated as they exceeded their fundraising goal by $5,000.
Oh, it was amazing. Last year they raised $11,000, and then this year we gave the check for $25,000. So we were well beyond our goal.
We talked about $20,000. That was double what we raised last year. So really to see that number on a check, we've been adding it up, trying to we've been talking about there's no way that we raised that much money. But when we really do look at it and see the commitment of the buy-in that each brother had to want to raise that money to for Jeep Sullivan and for what he does, that made it so much more worth it.
Now that it's all said and done, the big question is, would they do it again?
Oh, definitely, 100%. If there's a slot available next year, I'll be doing it again.
Sarah Singletary, Troy, TrojanVision News.
While the brothers presented a check for $25,000 last week, more donations have poured in, and now the number is closer to $28,000. And ATO plans to be back at it again next spring break. And it's not unusual to see college students trying to get in shape, especially to get ready for swimsuit season.
However, there is a new place on campus where students can exercise their bodies while exercising their minds: the library. The Troy University Library has an unexpected addition: exercise bikes.
Right now we have 3 exercise bikes that you can also mount a laptop or a book on, and so you can study while you exercise.
The bikes were added just before the beginning of spring break and are believed to help students retain information.
I just thought it was a great idea. I read an article about the bikes, and if you go to the company's website, I think this is where I saw the information, they talked about some studies that say if you exercise while you study, you have a higher retention rate. It can just be a pick-me-up if you want. You know, if you've been studying for a long time, you can also go check out a movie and watch it on your laptop while you exercise if you want. So there are a lot of different things you can do.
Schaefer says that the ultimate goal is to get more students to visit the library.
The biggest thing that I hope is that we'll get them more interested in the library. We have seen a big increase in the amount of use of the library in the last 2 years. From 2014 to 15, we had 40,000 more visits to the library, and we're also seeing it tick upward again this year for the first 2 months. And so we think it's going to make people want to come to the library, which is what we're all about.
Schaefer says the Fit bikes have proven so popular that 3 additional exercise bikes and 6 ellipticals have been ordered to be placed in the library in the future.
And now taking a look at news from around the state. Authorities in northeastern Alabama say a man was killed after he fired a weapon at officers following a police chase. A news release from Piedmont Police says 26-year-old Wesley Chad Dearman of Boaz crashed his vehicle yesterday and fired a weapon as he tried to flee on foot. Police say officers returned fire, striking Dearman, who later died of his injuries at a hospital.
Helena police say they believe training they received just 2 weeks ago helped save a crash victim's life. The police department says Sergeant Charles Hudson was able to apply his newly issued rescue tourniquet yesterday afternoon to treat a man's severed arm so as to stop the victim's bleeding until paramedics arrived.
Birmingham police say they're investigating after a burned body was discovered by a dumpster. A Birmingham police spokesman says the body was found about 1 o'clock this morning in an alley on the city's north side.
Still to come on TrojanVision News, the women's basketball team made history over the weekend. Ryan Renfro has more in sports.
Plus, an officer was killed as a result of an unwarranted attack. More on that after the break.
A community is in shock after an officer is gunned down outside his police station. I'm Craig Boswell in Landover, Maryland. That's coming up.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
The warrior spirit, it's in there. Always has been. Now let it out and take the world by fire. Train well and learn what it means to be a Troy Trojan. Walk with confidence, conquer, claim territory, and climb ladders. Know that you have the power to stand alone, but the comfort of knowing that you'll never have to. Discover your inner warrior. Find it at troy.edu/spirit.
Now, the latest in Trojan sports on Troy TrojanVision News.
If you kept up with social media over the weekend, you may have seen a little something about the women's basketball team. To say it's been an exciting past few days in the Sun Belt Conference Championships may be an understatement when it comes to the Trojans. Now, first the Trojans took down South Alabama on Wednesday. Then it was Arkansas State on Friday. And on Saturday night, the Trojans went for it all against Little Rock and fought their way to their first Sun Belt Conference Championship. Now let's take a look at the action and a reoccurring theme in this championship game that head coach Chenna Rigby says led her Trojans to victory.
It goes back to faith because just as everything seemed to go right for us last night, it seemed like nothing was going right for us tonight. We couldn't find an offense to run that we could get just consistently get buckets.
By the end of the first half, the Trojans found themselves sitting at a 33-30 lead. But by the end of the third quarter, trailed Little Rock 49-47. But that score, along with a little bit of faith, was all the Trojans needed.
The faith, because we kept saying, just stay close, keep it close, keep it close. And of course, at the end, what happened, it was nothing that the coaches called or anything like that.
And as for what happened, big-time players made big-time plays.
I just knew that this was the time for me to take the shot.
ABK, pull up!
ABK's shot gave the Trojans a 61-60 lead in Little Rock, 20 seconds on the clock. And with the clock winding down, victory was in reach.
Call a timeout. Townsend sets it up. Collins. Now Townsend. Ramirez with the block. And the Troy Trojans have won the Sunbelt Women's Basketball Championship.
Every girl that's on the team, we all have a story. And I feel like during that celebration, we felt all the stories that we've shared with each other. And we just love each other, and we believed in each other to pull out the game.
The Trojans are currently inside Trojan Arena awaiting the announcement of their first opponent in the NCAA tournament. The Trojan baseball team was in action over the weekend right here in Troy against the number 16 ranked Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana Lafayette. The Trojans lost the first game of the series on Friday, won on Saturday, and looked to cap off the series with a win on Sunday. That win, however, would be a tough one to come by as the Trojans fell by a final score of 8-3. Troy got off to a 2-0 lead in the first inning, but Lafayette took a 5-2 lead in the fourth and didn't look back, adding 1 run in the 8th and 2 runs in the 9th. The Trojans ended the day with 4 hits total, with 3 of those 4 coming in the first inning. With Sunday's loss, the Trojans now stand at an overall 10-8 record and will travel to Statesboro, Georgia this Friday to take on Georgia Southern. Staying out on the diamond, the Troy softball team took the field on its home turf on Sunday, searching for its 18th win of the season against Georgia State. The Trojans fell to the Panthers by a final score of 6-2. Troy got off to a good start, taking a 2-0 lead through 3 innings. That lead, however, was put to the test in the 5th inning as the Panthers didn't just get on the board. They scored 5 runs to take a 5-2 lead. Georgia State finished the day with 7 hits to Troy's 5. The loss is Troy's 7th of the season. The Trojans will return to the Troy softball complex this Wednesday to take on Florida A&M at 5 p.m. The Troy men's tennis team took down Florida Gulf Coast on Friday and UNC Wilmington on Saturday in the South Florida Spring Break Tournament and looked to grab the bull by the horns and keep its 6-match winning streak alive on Sunday against number 16 South Florida. The Bulls took a 2-0 lead in number 4 singles, but the Trojans got right back into the game with a win from sophomore Andy Lau. Troy's Daniel Bustamante fell to South Florida's Roberto Kidd in the singles competition, the number 4 ranked player in the country. The Trojans fell to the Bulls by a final score of 4-1. Now, the men's golf team had a pretty impressive spring break. The Trojans took down the number 5 ranked Auburn Tigers at the Tiger Invitational and went from being number 67 ranked nationally to the now ranked 51st. The Trojans look to keep that success going over the weekend down in Tallahassee, Florida at the Seminole Intercollegiate. The Trojans were in first place late in the tournament, but in the final round shot 13 over, slipping from first place and finishing in 6th. The Trojans will take a break and will return to action on April 3rd at the Hootie at Bulls Bay in South Carolina. The women's golf team played 36 holes of golf on Saturday in the 3M Augusta Invitational and finished 9th in a field that included 11 teams ranked in the top 100. Fatima Fernandez-Cano led the way for the Trojans with a 15th place finish after shooting 4 over 220. Bianca Lobauer and Gabby Oubre tied for 40th place on the day, and junior Becca Horner finished in a tie for 56th place overall. The Trojans will return to play on March 28th at the Hensler Financial Intercollegiate hosted by Kennesaw State.